Hello, I'm Bryant with the Fayetteville City FFA chapter. My project is the comparison of heat output by different types of pipe in radiant heating in a small-scale experiment. There are several agricultural applications for radiant heated floors, such as greenhouses, poultry barns, animal enclosures, and agricultural storage. It is important that a radiant heating system can get up to temperature and maintain that temperature. The type of radiant floor system used in this experiment, it uses either copper or PEX pipe that are attached to a pump and water heater. This is called a hydronic radiant heating system. This experiment was done to determine which type of pipe was most effective at conducting heat in a radiant floor. Sources like Plumber magazine have found that copper had a significantly higher coefficient of thermal conductivity than PEX pipe did. But they also stated that there were several downsides to that when it comes to energy loss, but this can be remedied using insulation. To test which pipe could create the most heat on the surface of a floor, I created a plywood box that would represent a standard plywood floor and created a fixture for each pipe that created a U shape. This was on the underside of the box, and each end of the pipe was exited out one end through an input and an output with a series of hoses that hooked it up to the pump and water heater. This box was 3 feet long, 16 inches wide, and 10 inches deep, and both pipes are half-inch pipe. Several hoses and fittings were attached in the appropriate spots to create a circuit almost to allow the water to circulate properly through the system. In this experiment, we already had a water system with a heater and a pump, so we used that and hooked it up to the experiment box. The water we was using was also circulating, and it had a temperature of 113 degrees Fahrenheit. The surface temperature of the plywood was measured 8 times for each pipe, and it's on the opposite end of the pipe from the input and output on the U part, on the loop part, so opposite of the input and output. Then this was averaged for a average reading that we will later discuss in a minute. We also looked at the chart we made to show how it heated up and how it held that temperature. Now, copper, I predicted it to do a lot better in this scenario because it is a metal, and metal heats up a lot quicker than plastic does. And when I tested the experiment using the method that I just talked about and that you will also find in the written report, I found that copper was indeed the better conductor of heat. It had an average temperature of 82 degrees, where PEX only had a 74.6 as an average. So in the end, I found that copper conducted more heat than PEX did on the surface of the plywood. So also there could be some downsides that I mentioned that when I was talking about Plumber magazine. If I was to do this experiment again, I would do a larger scale test to show if there is a big heat loss or energy loss, which one's more efficient over time, just stuff like that. This is a small scale experiment though, and it shows that copper did win. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you.